may gantimpala bang dapat pangasahan upang kumilos ng tama't makatwiran? Katuwang at isipay kukupas at sa lupa'y ayakap din. Subalit ang bunga ng iyong pamanay higit pa sa pinagmulan. Saglit lamang ang ating buhay, tilamsik sa dakilang apoy. Ang bukas na nais mong makita, ngayon pa may simulan mo na. Bata batuta, isang perang muta, di ka mahal ng mundo. Inulila't iwinala, sino ang aangkin sa'yo? Bata batuta, isang perang muta, saan ka nga ba nanggaling? Ikaw ba'y hulog ng langit o bunga ng putik at lupa? Magulang mo'y walang mukha, alaalang ibinaon sa semento. Panaginip mo'y napupuno ng di nakikilalang mga tao, pagkat kulang sa pag-ibig ang kinaroroon ng mundo. Sa paglaki matututunan mong manakit at manloko. Ngunit sa ibabaw ng lahat, ako'y pinahahanga mo. Saan nakukuha ang lakas makipaglaro sa asfalto? Bata batuta, umasa ka at mangarap pa. Panahon lamang ang namamagitan sa ngayon at sa bukas, at iyo ang bukas. Bata batuta, isang perang muta, ikaw ang binhi ng buhay. Sa taglay mong pangarap, ang bukas ay naghihintay, naghihintay.
Magis afternoon, Ateneo. I am Karla Faye Abila, a fourth year BS Psychology student, your host for the Special Alternative Class Program. Welcome to this webinar, Kalinangan, Preservation and Promotion of Indigenous Peoples' Cultures. To help us ensure the smooth flow of the program, I'd like to remind everyone of our house rules. To please mute your microphones throughout the talk proper. We also encourage you to click on your cameras, but if only your internet permits it. If you have questions or concerns about the topic or the speaker, you can type them on the Zoom chat box. And we are also live in the official ADNU ALSA YouTube account. So we urge our viewers to engage in the discussion by leaving a comment in the comment box section. And later on, in the open forum, we'll try to read your comments and questions. All right, so please complete the evaluation form in order to ensure that you receive your e-certificates for attending this event. And at the end of this webinar, you will receive a link to the form. So at this time, may I invite everyone to the opening prayer.
Let us be present to the Lord our God, who is in our midst. God of all knowledge and wisdom, who inflames our minds with the passion to learn and to understand. God of all creation, who enlivens our imaginations with the desires to build and to create. God of all hope, who transforms our hearts with a yearning for the world of your wildest dreams. We thank you for gathering us together here to praise you by our own words and works. We praise you for the knowers and the seekers, the builders and the makers, the lovers and the dreamers, who are gathered to attend the online alternative classes program in our university. We offer everything to you throughout this program. We beg you, Lord, to bless and protect from all harm all the participants, facilitators, and the organizers of this alternative classes program. We pray that you bless all the persons in charge of this program, that they may fulfill their tasks diligently and responsibly. This pandemic has forced us to create and to expand new ways of learning about ourselves, our country, and our common home. We know that without your grace, we can do nothing. May we be living witness of your genuine love. Through the implementation of the knowledge and skills acquired through this alternative classes program, help us to live lives of abundant faith, steadfast hope, and undying love during this time of the pandemic. Following the example of Our Lady of Peñaconcha, our Mother, and Saint Francis Xavier, our patron. Send us your Spirit, O Lord. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen.
Thank you so much, Father Severino Ignacio Reyes, SJ, for the prayer, and Alexandra Seaton for the voice recording. Now I am pleased to welcome no less than the University President, Father Roberto Ezequiel and Rivera SJ, to give us all his opening message. Please join me in giving him a
To our
virtual round of
distinguished guest speakers, to our Ateneo de Naga University students, faculty, administrators, and staff members, to our dear friends and associates, Diyos marhay na aldaw po sa Indogabos. It is my distinct honor and privilege to welcome all of you to this alternative class program with its theme Cannonballs, Firing Up Dreams, Courage, and Action. My dear friends, we know that for yet another year, this alternative class program, and indeed our whole academic year, is being enacted in the context of the pandemic. The pandemic continues, and some can say it has worsened, and yet we press on. We press on with the work of education. We press on with the work of teaching and learning. And that is why I believe it is truly appropriate that we hold this alternative class program in the context not only of this very challenging pandemic, but also in the context of the special event we celebrate and commemorate this year. That is the 500th year since the conversion of Saint Ignatius of Loyola. We recall how Saint Ignatius, fighting as a soldier at the Battle of Pamplona 500 years ago, was wounded by a cannonball, his leg shattered. And with his long convalescence in the castle of Loyola, this became the avenue by which he would be brought closer to God, by which he would be converted, and by which he would found the Society of Jesus. As it was for St. Ignatius of Loyola, so it is for us today. If for Ignatius it was the Battle of Pamplona and a cannonball, for us in this day and age, it is this pandemic and all that we have to bear, not only to survive, but to flourish during this time. And that is why I am indeed very pleased and happy to know of this talk and the many other talks that are being offered to you in this alternative class program. This finely curated set of topics and our amazing lineup of speakers show us what is indeed possible even in the midst of crisis. That if we are able to muster our dreams, our courage, and translate them into action, this crisis will yet show us the way to a better, more peaceful, more developed world. And so, my brothers and sisters, once again, I welcome all of you to this alternative class program. May this session and all the sessions in the ACP be an opportunity for us to flourish, to grow, to fire up our dreams, our courage, and action for a better tomorrow. Before we end, I would like to give my sincere thanks to Mr. Sunny Virtus and the Office of Student Affairs team for their hard work in preparing this ACP program for all of you. And of course, our sincerest thanks to all our wonderful speakers who give so much of their time and talent to enlighten us during this ACP. Once again, a warm welcome to everyone. Salamat po, asin, Diyos mabalos.
Maraming salamat po, Father Robert, for your presence and warm welcome. Now, before we meet our guest speaker for this webinar, let us watch this video about
Hello there, Ateneans! Here is what you need to know about the Alternative Class Program, or ACP. The ACP is conducted every semester to provide college students with formative opportunities outside of their regular classroom routine and daily schedule in support of the university's uniquely Jesuit educational goals. Instead of attending their class for a particular period, students choose at least one ACP topic from among the offered webinars and e-workshops. Carefully selected resource speakers from different fields of specialization are invited to share their knowledge, skills, and inspire students to nurture their personal development and partake in social advocacies or causes. We thank you for your participation in the first ever virtual ACP last semester, which recorded an all-time high attendance turnout and received an overwhelmingly affirmative evaluation from students. Because of the ACP's affirming results and positive impact, we are continuing with a bigger and better ACP. However, the program shall still be carried out via digital platforms to ensure everyone's safety. The theme for a semester's ACP is Cannonballs, Firing Up Dreams, Courage, Action. This theme is inspired by the conversion of Saint Ignatius of Loyola, founder of Society of Jesus. Just as Saint Ignatius was hit by a cannonball, which altered his life and drew him to a greater calling, this ACP hopes to fight up universities' call for students to have dreams, discern, and how these dreams contribute to one's personal improvement and the common good, master courage, and find ways to accomplish these dreams. To do this, ACP offerings are carefully chosen to be relevant to the current times, formative, and mission-driven. The webinars and e-workshops hope to start a conversation on one's life in the pandemic and the varied factors that affect it and facilitate personal and even community reflection and discernment. Who knows? These virtual activities could fire up meaningful cannonball moments in you, their students. At the end of the webinars and e-workshops, the ACP hopes for the following objectives. First, acquire knowledge and/or skills that are relevant to one's interest, talent, skill, passion, or advocacy. Second, relate to share the learning and insight gained from the topic or activity in one conversation or dialogue and personal reflection. Third, examine the importance of one's interest, talent, skill, passion, or advocacy to the development of the society. And fourth, seek ways or opportunities by which the gained knowledge and skills can be further advanced and used for the benefit of the immediate organization, community, or larger society. For now, we would like you to listen to the speakers sharing and take part in the conversation. Dream, have courage, take action, and don't forget to learn and have fun while we experience ACP Ateneans.
There you have it. Thank you, Steffi, for explaining to us what ACP is all about and why we are sustaining the program up to this time of pandemic. And thank you, everyone, for choosing this important ACP topic. So for this afternoon, we will expand and deepen our knowledge and understanding of our Indigenous peoples and communities in the country, their role and importance, and ways on how we can help preserve and promote IP cultures. And to do this, we are very fortunate to have with us the perfect person as the resource speaker. Okay, so allow me now to introduce to you our guest speaker for this afternoon. Our speaker attained his college bachelor's degree in science and physical therapy in 1994 and furthered his experience by completing his master's degree in public health and doctorate degree in philosophy in 2002, respectively. He is one of the country's foremost leaders and advances the welfare of Indigenous peoples' cultures. In fact, he is the head of the National Committee of Northern Cultural Communities at the National Commission on Culture and Arts. He is also the founder and CEO of Katutubo Exchange Philippines, a volunteer cultural organization that promotes IP cultural heritage and organizes the annual Katutubo Exchange Program for Indigenous youth of the country. He is a book author, a traveler, and a photography enthusiast. He has represented the country in prestigious international cultural exchange programs as an ambassador of goodwill and facilitator, like in the Ship for Japan and Southeast Asian Program or SEAP, as well as the Ship for the World Youth, to name a few. He is a recipient of several regional, national, and international awards. Everyone with pride and gratitude, we welcome to the Ateneo de Naga our research speaker, Dr. Edwin Antonio. Good afternoon, Dr. Edwin.
Yes, thank you so much, Karla. To Father Robert Rivera, President of Ateneo de Naga University, to the rest of the members of the administration, to the Director of Office of Student Affairs, Mr. Roberto Bertus Jr., and to other faculty and staff, and to the students of Ateneo de Naga University, and to all our participants in this webinar entitled Kalinangan, Preservation and Promotion of Indigenous Peoples' Culture. Maray na hapon sa Indo. Isang magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. And I'm so honored and privileged to be speaking before you, people of Bicol. So nice to be back virtually, maybe, kasi it's been a long time na hindi po tayo nakapasyal dyan sa Bicol, no? Especially sa Naga City. And of course, marami po tayong pag-uusapan ngayong hapon na ito dahil pag-uusapan natin ang katutubong kultura. And of course, for your information, October is declared, no, as the National Indigenous Peoples Month, pursuant to Presidential Proclamation number 1906, signed in 2009. And of course, this is to give due recognition to the indigenous peoples and the indigenous people's rights. Of course, 2021 is declared as the year of the Filipino pre-colonial ancestors, pursuant to Presidential Proclamation number 1128, signed in 2021. This is to give due recognition to our origin and our identity. And of course, very special and very important is the year of 2021 kasi this marks our quincentennial anniversary of the victory at the Battle of Mactan. Nandun nakipaglaban ang ating magiting na si Dato Lapu-Lapu para masupil ang mga mananakop. And of course, I'm sure siguro some of you have watched yung musical play last night sa Metropolitan Theater. So this is truly a celebration of our rich culture and history. So ipagdiriwang natin ngayong hapon na ito sa pamamagitan ng isang talakayan, no, sa ating katutubo kultura at siyempre sa ating mga ninuno. But before that, I'd like to share first a video maybe para at least ma-light na ano tayo. And this is Kalinangan, Preservation and Promotion of Indigenous Peoples' Culture. And of course, Hagyo. I'm Edwin Antonio, of course, and introduce na ako ni Karla kanina. And I'm wearing actually here mga traditional attire, no? So mamaya ako explain. And of course, you can see characters on the picture. It's Hanuno Mangyan script at saka yung Ifuga and Baybayin. And of course, these are my names from the different communities. Mangyan, Hanuno, binigyan ako ng pangalan. Sabway at tapos Tayaban from Ifugao. Okay. And I'd like to share this video. Panoorin natin na maigi kasi very meaningful po ito. No? It reflects yung character and our identity as a Filipino.
Ako ay Pilipino, lahing matapang, lahing matalino, nalakbay ko ng mundo.
Walang unos o bagyo sa aking gugupo, lahi ng matatag. Ako ay Pilipino. Ako ay Pilipino. Ako'y makadiyos. Ako ay Pilipino.
Ako'y makatao, saan man makarating, sino mang makapiling.
Aangat ang galing,
Habang buhay,
Filipino.
Itong ikot sandaang mga isla, magkakahiwalay ngunit nagkakaisa. Tahanan ng aming lahi, mga pook na aming ninimithi.
puno ng kasaysayan, puno ng hiwaga.
Sa mga lugar na ito nakatanim ang ugat ng pagka-Pilipino.
Ako ay Pilipino. Ako'y makadiyos. Ako ay Pilipino. Ako'y makatao, saan man makarating, sino mang makapiling. Aangat ang galing, habang buhay, Pilipino. Kami ang lahing kayumanggi, mula sa bughaw ng langit at dagat. Mula sa pulang alimoy tugo, hinalo sa dilaw na araw at bituin. Yan ang kulay ng katatagan, yan ang kulay ng kagitingan, buong tapang na sumisigaw. Yan ang Pilipino. Ako ay Pilipino. Ako'y makadiyos. Ako ay Pilipino. Ako'y makatao, saan man makarating, sino mang makapiling. Aangat ang galing, habang buhay, Pilipino. Ito may dala ng pagkakataon o sadyang binuot naging okasyon. Pagdiriwang ang aming kasiyahan, ipinagbubunyi ang kalayaan. Pinupuri ang katapangan, kapanganakan, pag-isan din. Pagbabalik bayan o talino ng tatagisan, ipagdiwang natin ang pagiging Pilipino. Ako'y makadiyos. Ako ay Pilipino. Ako'y makatao, saan man makarating, sino mang makapiling. Aangat ang galing, habang buhay, Pilipino.
Sa kahoy, bato at metal inukit, sa tulat musika ang aming inaawit. Mga aral mula sa aming ninuno, upang ako'y ng umiibig na puso.
Mga gawang kamay at kathang isip, mga bagay at obrang nililino, pinipili at pinipino, sa gisa namin.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Pilipino ako, Pilipino tayo. No? Nagustuhan niyo ba yung kanta? And of course, nakita ko nga yung spelling ng Pilipino. Naalala ko pag Pilipino, parang galing dyan ng Bicol eh. Kasi from the word pili, no? Pili na dyan po sa Bicol region, no? And of course, Pinong-Pino ang mga Pilipino, no? So, ayun po. At siyempre, masabi ko rin lang na ang 2021 ay napakahalaga din, no? Dahil parte tayo, no? Ang parte ang Pilipinas, the very first circumnavigation of the world, no? Dumaan sila dito at siyempre meron tayong interaction sa kanila, no? During that time. Actually, pinagdiriwang natin kasi because of humanity dahil nung time na yon eh medyo hapong-hapon na sila at medyo nagugutom, of course, at tumulong tayo as a Filipino, tayo yung pinaka hospitable, no, na nag-accommodate sa kanila at siyempre na ituloy. Pero yun nga, nagkaroon ng battle at Mactan at of course nagwagi si Dato Lapu-Lapu. And of course, I just like to pose a question to our participants, no, if meron akong question eh kasi parang mukhang millennials ata po ang ating mga participants for today. And gusto ko lang marinig sa inyo kung tanong ko lang po, no, if you can share your answers sa chat box, no. Meron ba tayong forever? May question, no. Topic pa rin, pero I just like to know kung meron ba. Meron ba tayo? Wala. Okay, walang sumagot. Okay. Wala daw, wala. Oh, yes, may wala daw. So, wala. Okay. Okay. Okay, wala daw po. Wala. Yes. Yung iba meron. Okay. Thank you. Okay na yan. And of course, para at least nakita ko naman na meron kayong answer dun sa question. And actually, basing from the song, actually masasagot natin ng yes. Siguro yung iba siguro pinag-usapan nila about love siguro or about destiny or tadhana. Pero ito we talk about our identity, no. Parang masabi mo na habang buhay tayo Pilipino, tama po ba? From the word habang buhay, it's a forever. Actually, kahit man sa ang lupalop ng mundo ka makarating, no, hindi mo maitatanggi na ikaw ay isang Pilipino just because of your physical features, no, at saka yung ways of life mo, and of course sa lahat ng ginagawa mo, pa rin bumabalik ka pa rin sa pagiging Filipino. Kaya mapadpad sa ibang lugar, ma-assimilate mo yung culture nila. Of course, you can speak their language. Pagbalik mo dito, mukhang iba na kasi minsan nag-transform ka na kasi yung get-up mo, yung pananamit mo is iba na rin. At mukhang hindi ka na nakikilala sa community ninyo, no? Pag bumalik ka kasi pati buhok mo colored na rin, no? Blonde na siguro. Pero yun nga, medyo magkaroon ba ng change physical appearance mo, actually mahuhuli mo pa rin, no? Anyway, sorry sa mga iba na kasi pag lumabas sa ibang bansa o may pumunta sa ibang bansa, mukhang nag-iba yung kanilang outlook in life or perspective in life. Kaya siguro pagbalik nila, yun ang ina-apply nila, no, pagbalik nila dito. Parang nakalimutan nila yung some parts of their culture. Actually, mahuhuli mo sa isang tao, no, kahit na magpalit siya ng kaanyuan or pananamit. Sa tiyan mo mahuhuli kasi pagdating sa pagkain, walang makatanggi or hanap-hanapin mo pa rin yung kinakain mo na ng mga pagkain. And of course, I remember ang Bicol, nandiyan ang Bicol Express. Siyempre, pag Bicolano ka, siyempre hanap-hanapin mo yung Bicol Express, yung laing, sarap, yung, I think, pinangat sa inyo, meron din, ba? Yan. Okay. Everyone loves it, kaya yun ang hinahanap natin. Kahit man pumunta ka sa ibang lugar, hindi mo mat-take na the whole time, yun ang kinakain mo burger. Pero ito kasi ano na since our childhood, yun ang kinakain, niluluto ng parents natin. So, yun, some of the things na pwede nating pag-uusapan later, no, about pagkain. Kasi lahat tayo nakaka-relate tayo pag pagkain ng pinag-uusapan. So, ayun po. Sabi dun sa kanta, nilakbay ko na ang mundo, no? Nalakbay ko na ang mundo. Kaya sabi kanina, we're part of the circumnavigation, first circumnavigation. Pero actually, kung tutuusin, traveler na tayo, no? Naglalayag na tayo sa karagatan, nakipagkalakalan sa karating bansa natin. At syempre, ang sabi nga ng China, tayo ang pinaka-honest na mga traders nila or ka-business transactions nila kasi malinis ang ating transaction. So, yun ang narinig ko from the history, no? Historical accounts. Kaya nakaka-proud as a Filipino kasi ayun, nakakapagbiyahe tayo, and of course yun nga yung adventurous tayo, kaya yung mga kababayan din natin nag-abroad, no? Actually ang highway natin yung karagatan, ito yung pinaka-highway natin before, and syempre gumagawa tayo ng mga boats, mga baroto, mga balangay, balangay, no? And of course yung Karakoa, meron pa tayong warship na gamit ng ginawa dyan sa Visayas at saka sa Kapampangan. Sila yung gumagawa ng Karakoa. Okay, and of course other boats na katulad sa Batanes, na Batan community, gumagawa sila ng kanilang mga sasakyan dagat, pati sa Tausog sa Sulu, sa mga Sama Dilaut or Sama Badjao. Kaya ang dami nating pwedeng pag-usapan patungkol dito sa katutubong kultura. Let me share my screen now for okay. Let me share this beautiful quote, no, from our statesman Carlos P. Romulo. Siya ay dating minister ng Foreign Affairs, and of course naging presidente siya ng United Nations General Assembly, and of course national artist for literature. At sabi niya, let us teach our people again to be proud that they are Filipinos. Let us teach them to realize anew that being a Filipino means having as rich, noble heritage of language, culture, patriotism, heroic deeds as any nation on earth. Let us teach a steadfast faith in divine providence, a stable family institution, the unhampered enjoyment of civil liberties, the advantages of constitutional government, the potentials of a rich and spacious land. Kasama dito, no, sa pagkakaroon ng kalayaan, of course kasarinlan, of course kaakbay nito ang pagkakaroon ng isang domain, isang teritoryo. Kaya we have this spacious land, no. Actually dapat lagi nating ipaglaban dahil pinaglaban ng ating mga ninuno itong lupain na meron tayo. Ganun din sa mga indigenous peoples, meron silang ancestral domain na talagang sila doon ay tumubo doon sa lupain na yon at kailangan nilang alagaan ang mga ito. And of course, aside from the natural heritage, meron silang cultural heritage, no, yung intangible as well as mga tangible heritage. Okay. Conservation or preservation of apiculture, no. Meron tayo, no. These are actions taken to sustain the value, the meaning and significance of cultural resources from the past for the use of the present and inspiration for future generations, no. Salin-salin lang dapat ito para at least mapanatili natin, no, na makarating, no, sa mga ibang henerasyon, no, sa mga susunod mga anak natin, mga apo. And of course, cultural heritage, no, it's an expression of the ways of living developed by a community and passed on from generation to generation, including customs, practices, places, objects, artistic expressions and values. Cultural heritage is often expressed as either intangible or tangible cultural heritage. That's according to ICOMOS or International Council for Monuments and Sites, no, itong last 2002. Yun ang definition nila. And we have these types of heritage, no, nabanggit natin kanina. We have tangible heritage and we have intangible and natural. And of course, intangible is, no, napaka-importanting alagaan at i-promote natin kasi madaling mawala ito pag wala nang wala na nagpo-practice, wala nang gumagawa, nagsasali nito. No, these are the practices, no, representations, expressions, knowledge, skills, as well as the instruments, objects, artifacts, and cultural spaces associated therewith that communities, groups, and in some cases, individuals recognize as part of their cultural heritage. Actually, sa isang maikli na meaning is intangible cultural heritage are the traditional knowledge, or sa mga indigenous communities ang tawag nila is indigenous knowledge systems and practices. So malaking obligasyon din ng state na pangalagaan ito, no. We have the 5 domains of intangible cultural heritage that's according to UNESCO, no. And the first one is the oral traditions and expressions, including language as vehicle of the intangible cultural heritage. Ito actually yung lingwahe, no, yung Bicolano, no. Ito yung nagpe-preserve ng dito tayo nag-iimbak ng mga memorya, no. Ito yung vessel nga sabi ng our intangible cultural heritage. Nakapaloob lahat dito sa lingwahe. Yung mga tula na ginagamit natin, mga kino-compose natin, mga songs and music, nakapaloob dun sa language, no. Kaya sa atin as members of the cultural communities, sana ating pang pagyabungin ang ating mga lingwahe, kasi minsan nawawala na ito dahil syempre because of the influence of foreign languages. Mas interesante pa ang ating mga kabataan ngayon, no, na mag-aral. Kunwari mukhang interesado pa sila sa Korean, no, dahil nga sa mga soap opera na napapanood, no. And of course, pwede rin Japanese, mas interesado pa silang aralin than our indigenous languages, no. So again, oral traditions, marami po tayo nito, yung mga epics natin, mga chants, no. So another one is performing arts, no. Actually, marami tayong ginagawang paraan para mag-preserve, no, ng ating indigenous performing arts. Yun yung usually, no, na nakikita rin natin. Nakakaligtaan yung medyo small portion ang inaalat na attention sa sa oral traditions and expression. So performing arts, may dances lagi natin nakita, and of course mga songs and music, no. Okay. And of course, social practices, rituals and festive events, no. Ang dami natin nito all over the Philippines. Mukhang even barangay meron silang mga festivals, no. Pero ang nangyari ngayon kasi nag-evolve na, no. Parang minsan hindi na nakaangkla doon sa pinaka binavalue ng community. So pag festival kasi na tinatawag, dapat something that you can relate as a community member doon sa pinagdiriwang, no. Kasi minsan we have the patron saint before, no. Tapos nag-evolve siya, may mga pagkain na yung mga harvest, no, yung mga may mga talong festival pa nga pero hindi ko alam kung paano na-derive yung pangalan ng kanilang festival. Pero it's part of ditong third domain, no. Maraming social practices, no, gatherings sa community, during the birth, marriage, no. May mga nagawa tayo dyan, may mga rituals din tayo. And of course, knowledge and practices concerning the nature and the universe. Ang katutubong Filipino kasi, marami silang indigenous knowledge, no? Katulad na lang ng ethnometeorology. Huwag nating isipin wala science sa ating mga katutubo. Actually, hitik na hitik sila, no? Kasi meron sila ethnomedicine, no? They harvest some herbal medicines for their medicines. Actually, they create their own medicines. It's natural medicine. Hindi sila bumibili ng synthetic na lagi nating ginagamit. So, yun ang lessons na pwede nating mapag-aralan from the part, no? Yung ating mga indigenous cultural communities. Ang dami nila nito about the environment. May ethnometeorology, no? They can predict the weather kung may mga sakuna, may mga bagyo na darating. Pero ngayon, medyo mayroong changes kasi may climate changes or may weather disturbances. Parang ganun. na disrupt na yung cycles nila, no, no before na medyo okay pa, no, because of the climate change. Yun na yung isang factor na ikino-consider kung nasusundan ba yung cycles, no. And of course, astronomy, meron din lang silang astronomy, no, ethnoastronomy. And of course, traditional craftsmanship, marami po tayo nito, mga paggawa ng mga banig, mga kasuotan, no, mga textiles and handwoven materials, no, nandito. Mga musical instruments din kasama rin dito sa paggawa ng crafts. And of course, indigenous peoples are defined to be distinct social and cultural groups that share collective ancestral ties to the lands and natural resources where they live, occupy, or from which they have been displaced. The land and natural resources on which they depend are inextricably linked to their identities, cultures, livelihoods, as well as their physical and spiritual well-being. Yun nga, spiritual well-being, no, nakapaloob din sa kanilang sa pag-treat nila ng isang tao, no, mas lalo pagdating ng they make use of spirituality, no. Kaya ito yung definition ng indigenous peoples, no. Andyan lagi yung ancestral domains na nabanggit ko kanina, no, sa pambungad ko na pananalita is laging may ancestral domain or may teritoryo silang tinatawag na they really protect it para sa kanilang community, para sa kanilang mga constituents. And of course, we have 370 to 500 million indigenous peoples all over the world, no, in 90 countries, no. But that's only 5% of global population, napakaliit, no. Dito nga sa Philippines, meron tayong 14 to around 20 siguro, 20 million. Napakaliit na populasyon, pero pagbabasahan mo yung cultural treasures, no, napakayaman nila, napakahitik, no, kaya marami tayong mapag-aaralan from them at marami silang pwedeng ma-share, no. Yun, isang paraan para at least pwede nating ma-i-apply dun sa ating pang-araw-araw na buhay, no. Actually, ito ngang pandemic nga, di ba? Yung hindi natin ginagawa noon, ginagawa natin. Nagtatanim tayo, we plant, tapos yun ang hinarvest natin, tapos yun ang kinakain natin. Yun din yung gawin ng mga indigenous peoples, no? They plant from farm to table sila, eh. So ayun, marami tayong pwede mga learnings from them kung if we just immerse in their community or maybe visit them or interact with them. Tapos, according to National Commission for Indigenous Peoples, meron kabuuang 110 na indigenous peoples group all over the country, 110. Tapos, pagkasama yung mga mainstream communities, meron tayong 130. That's according to Commission on Wikang Filipino Linguistic Groups. Para sa lingwahe naman, according to National Museum, parang meron tayong 186 languages, no? Just imagine, no? 186, napakarami nito. Pero pag hindi tayo gumawa ng paraan para ma-preserve ang mga ito, mawawala din po itong mga ito. Actually, 4 of them are already extinct. And to share with you, meron tayong rank na number 12 in the entire world, no? Among the countries with most number of languages, 186 po tayo, number 12. Ang number 1 kasi is Papua New Guinea. They have around 800 plus languages. Just imagine that, no? So ganon sila kayaman, no, sa cultural heritage, kasi they can create their own languages, no? Iba-iba, no? And we have this indigenous people celebration here in the Philippines as well as in the international community. Meron tayong Cultural Communities Week. It's celebrated, no, sa
Dr. Edwin.
second week of July. And we have also Cultural Consciousness Week on July 1 to 7 naman. And we have the International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples naman, at saka Philippine or National Indigenous Peoples Day sa August 9. Tapos yung October naman is the IP month, National IP month, itong month of October. Kasi dati atan from August tapos transfer siya sa October. Pero yung August 9, International Day siya.
Dr.
Yes?
Edwin?
Yes?
Sorry po for interrupting. Malabo po, Sir Doctor, yung PPT niyo po. Hindi po siya readable sa audience. Kami na lang po ba mag-present?
Sige.
Sige po, sir. Sorry po.
Sorry.
Ayan na po, sir.
Yeah. Okay, nabanggit ko, no? So these are some of the cultural communities, no, sa Luzon Island, no? Andyan yung Ilocano, Bulinaw. According to language po ito, no? So may Pangasinan, no? Tapos may Gatdang tayo sa region to Isinay, Bugkalot, Ilongot, Ibanagyo, Gad, Itawit, Malawig. I'm sure na medyo first time din nyo rin marinig itong mga different groups, no? Agta Dumagat, I think you have there in Bicol region, no? Marami po sila diyan, no? So Samar. And if Samar ba if part of Bicol, hindi, no? Ano pala, no? Iba na pala yan. Diyan sa Bicol actually, iban sa Quezon, no? Okay. Albay, Camarines Sur, Camarines Norte pala. Yeah. Andyan ang mga Agta Dumagat. Of course, we have Ibatano, Itbayat, no, sa Batanes. And of course, meron tayong concentration ng mga Aita group nasa sa Central Luzon, no. Meron tayong Aita sa Tarlac, sa Pampanga, Bataan, Basambales. Tapos may Kapampangan tayo at saka may Tagalog, Sambal sa Region 3. Next slide, please. Okay, we have also ito yung siguro pinaka-hub ng mga indigenous peoples groups, the Cordillera Administrative Region. Andyan yung mga Tingyan natin, Tingyan or Itneg at the same group, no? Nag-iiba lang yung pangalan, and Kalinga or sa Kalinga province. Ikalahan, Kalanguya sa Ifugao naman. And of course, Ibaloy, Kangkanaoy, nandiyan sa Benguet yan, no? Mountain Province yung Kangkanaoy. Balangao, Bontoc, Mountain Province. Apayao, Isnag, no? Sa province of Apayao. And then we have in Region 4, Palawani, Mulbog, Jamamapon, mayroon tayong Mangyan. Mangyan sa Mindoro po yan. Tagbanwa, Palawan, Agutaynan, Puyonon, Batak. Tapos, of course, meron tayong Tagalog, Romblaanon, Buntuanon. And Agta, no? Agta Ita, Kabihog. No? At of course, Bicolano sa inyo, no? Sa Region 5. Region 5 pala kayo, no? Next slide, please. Sa Central Cultural Communities naman ng Visayas, no? We call it Central. Ati, marami pong ati dyan, no? Sa Region 6. And of course, meron tayong Panay Bukidnon and Ilonggo, Hiligay, Kineray at saka Aklano. We have Boholano at saka Cebuano sa Region 7 and Region 8, Abaknon, Waray. Okay, next please. And sa Mindanao po ang pinakamarami, pinakauna yun ng number of IP groups na sa Mindanao and followed by Luzon, tapos Visayas ang medyo kokonti, no. We have Yakan, no, o Sama Bangingi, tapos Subanen, Polibugan, and Region 10 Manobo, Bukidnon, Higaonon, Talaandig, Matigsalog. And Region 11 naman Bagobo, Mandaya, Mansaka, Bibabawon, Mangguangan, Kalagan, Tagakolo, Mansaka, Kagan. So yeah, next please. So ayan, marami pa rin, no? Region 12, Tiboli. Of course, if you happen to visit South Cotabato, nandiyan po sila sa Blaan at saka Sanger din. And of course, sa Caraga, meron tayong Mamanwa, no? Mamanwa are the part of Negrito family, no? And meron din tayo diyang Kamayo, Banwaon, Manobo, Higaonon. Tapos RRM, pero BARM na ang tawag, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. Nandiyan yung mga Maranao, Maguindanao, Iranon, Tiduray, Aromanen, Sama, Bangingi, Badjaw, Jamamapon. Okay, and then of course we have Tausul of Sulu. Yeah, I think that completes our mga cultural communities. And of course, we have the Negrito family na mention ko kanina, may Mamanwa tayo, no? Yung kasama ko sa picture, kung malinaw sa inyo sa screen niyo, Mamanwa, no, from Surigao del Sur, del Norte. And we have Aita, of course, pag sa Bisaya sa Maati ang tawag, no? Agta naman o some parts dyan sa inyo at saka sa Quezon. And of course, Cagayan Valley din, Agta rin ang tawag at saka Dumagat. Meron din sa Bulacan din. And of course, Batak, no? Batak can be found in Puerto Princesa or Palawan, no? This is just a small tribe, no? If you can see yung picture nasa slide ko, are the chieftain, ito yung itong yung lalaki. Tapos yung babae nasa gilid, yung nakatalikod. Actually, they are topless, no? In most of the mga IP groups din, katulad sa Cordillera, topless din yung mga Kalinga and some other, no? So makikita niyo sila topless no sa Batak community. Yan, next please. And of course, when you go to Mindoro, very interesting din dahil nandiyan ang ating mga kapatid na mga Mangyan, no? Actually, meron 7 sila na sub-tribes, no? Meron nasa kasama ko sa picture are the Alangan tribe of Mangyan. And ito namang sumunod na 2 babae are they are Buhid, no? And sa baba naman yung naka-white na mga babae are Hanunoo. And itong mga kasama ko na lalaki na naka-grass skirt na parang nasa Romblon naman sila, Romblon area sila. Okay, pero they call also themselves as Mangyan. Okay, next please. Okay, these are the indigenous peoples group of Cordillera region. Yung nag-harp or nag-flute, I think Ibaloy siya, tapos yung sa baba niya is Ibaloy din. And yung mga lalaki dyan na may tattoos, no, they call it partake, no, are Bontoc sa Mountain Province. Inaman sa left side na picture, mga Kangkanay at saka Iyapayaw. No? These are the traditional houses yung nasa bahay nila. Ganyan ang kalilit ng bahay. Okay. Kangkanay din yung mga bata dyan sa picture. Next, please. Okay. These are Kalinga people, no? Nabanggit ko kanina na yun nga, if you remember Wang Ud, no? Wang Ud, she wears tattoo and of course she is a tattoo artist, no? Ito kasamahan niya po ito si Miss Nati. May symbolism ang mga tattoo sa kanila, no? Sign of beauty, no? Yan, makikita niyo sa arm niya may tattoo. And of course may nagno-nose flute. And of course, some of the dances, yung mga gong, no? Gong silang ginagamit to dance. Next, please. And of course, we have other people of Cordillera. Ifugao, itong mga nandito sa taas na pictures are Ifugao, no? And yung elder dyan na sumasayaw ay may headdress na kalaw, beak of kalaw bird o are bugalot or ilungot, no? Yung bata rin sa baba pala is ilungot din because they wear a headdress na kalaw beak. And of course Kalinga yung mga nasa baba na lalaki and of course Ifugao pa yung iba. Okay, next please. And dun sa right top picture is yung may nag-stage ata the Gatdang, no? Gatdang tribe of Mountain Province. Just take notice kung malinaw sa LCD nyo or sa screen nyo yung yung kanilang G-string, no? Ang G-string nila talaga labas ang ang singit, no? If you can see it. Ganon talagang maikli lang kanilang G-string. And of course, ibatan yung nandito, yung mga bata may mga cap. Tapos Kalinga naman itong mga girls. Tapos naman to Palawan, Tagbanwa naman yung mga naka-black, mga old woman. Next please. And these are Tiboli, no? Yung nagpo-flute, matigsalog naman itong dalawa. And of course, Tiboli nasa boat. Actually, dyan po nag-shoot si Catriona Gray, no? On that Lake Cebu, no? Lake Cebu. Okay, these are our our members in the group Katutubo Exchange. Next, please. Okay, tausog naman po ito, no? Tausog yung naka-headdress, itong dalawang babae at saka yung lalaki. Tapos yung nagluluto on the picture are yakan of basilan and ano naman to, subanen naman itong naka-black sa baba. Okay, next please. Yeah. These are the chieftains I met, no, in Mindanao. This nakatapat dyan yung picture tsaka yung description sa baba. Mansaka, Dibabawon, Arumanen, Bagobo, tsaka Mangguangan. Okay, next please. Napakarami, no, sa get up pa lang nila, no, very colorful and actually mahirap din gawin. So they create all of the things that they wear. Kaya yun ang kagandahan, no. Manlilikha po sila. And of course, what is NCCA? Pakilala ko lang po, no, for short na yung ating commission. It's called National Commission for Culture and the Arts of the Philippines, no. This is a government agency with the mandate of preservation, development, and promotion of Philippine arts and culture. Ito rin ay grants giving agency, no. May nagbibigay ng competitive grants at saka other programs. Actually, every year ito, no, annual itong competitive grants. Kung meron kayong ninanais na cultural projects and programs, pwedeng magsumite kayo ng mga proposals sa ahensya para mabigyan ng konting budget. And of course, pag may mga research proposals sila kayo, pwede rin idaan dito sa research grants, no, programs. And next, please. Okay, next one is programs and projects implemented by the NCCA. We have the Gamaba Award, no? Gawad sa Malilikha ng Bayan or the National Living Treasures. Tapos meron tayong NCCA conducts the research for the finest traditional artists of the land, adopts a program that will ensure the transfer of their skills to others, and undertakes the measures to promote a genuine appreciation of and still the pride among our people about the genius of the Malilikha ng Bayan. So, ayun po, actually, 16 lang po yung ating National Living Treasures or Malilikha ng Bayan na awardan since 1995, I think. So, piling-pili po, no, yung ating mga ina-awardan. Actually, this is a fourth highest award, no, of the state. Actually, ang Republika ng Pilipinas po ang nagbibigay sa kanila ng award. Hindi po ang NCCA. Ang NCCA lang po kasi ang nag-administer, no, or in charge sa nomination saka selection. Pero ang presidente ng Pilipinas po ang nagbibigay ng medalyon. Okay, next one please. Next slide. Okay, these are the Malilikha ng Bayan natin. Nakasama ko sila, no, in a very rare occasion, no, nagpunta kami sa Capiz for Indigenous Peoples Festival at kasama ko yung 2, 4, 6, 7 sa kanila. 7. Okay, next please. Okay, gusto ko lang ipakilala po yung ating mga National Living Treasures, no, since 1993. National Living Treasure galing sa Mangyan Group sa Oriental Mindoro, si Ginaw Bilog, no? Siya yung nagsusulat ng ambahan. Okay, sandali lang po. Sorry, I have to open the door kasi someone's knocking. Sorry. Okay, I'm back. Sorry for that. Okay, ang sumunod naman si Masino Intaray, musician and storyteller galing sa Palawan tribe, no? Sa Brooks Point, Palawan. And kasama rin nila sa batch na yan si Samuan Sulaiman, no? Maguindanao of Maguindanao province. Musician siya. Next please. Sila po yung first batch, no? 3 awardees lang po sila. And of course we have Lang Dulay, Tiboli of Lake Cebu, no? Siya yung textile weaver na tinalak. It's a abaka fiber, no, ang gamit. And of course, same thing with salintamonon, siya ay ikat weaver, a textile weaver na using the inabel. Inabal, no? Inabal, pero ang gamit is abaka. And of course, we have Alonso Saclag also, musician and the dancer of Kalinga, Lubwagan.
Recording stopped. Recording in
Next.
progress.
Another one is Federico Caballero, epic chanter ng Sulod Bukidnon, Kalinog, Iloilo. And of course, Uwang Ahadas musician na taga-Yakan ng Lamitan, Basilan. And of course, we have Darhata sa Wabi, textile weaver ng Tausog, Sulu. Next, please. We have also Eduardo Mutok dyan sa Pampanga, metalsmith naman siya. And Hajami Naapi, mat weaver ng Sama Group, Tawi-Tawi. And of course, ang gumawa ng aking sombrero ngayon, katukong, is by Teofilo Garcia, ang ating cast maker from Ilocano, from San Quintin Abra naman. Yeah, next slide please. And Magdalena Gamayo po ang gumawa naman ating barong, kasuotan ko ngayon, is a textile weaver, no, from Pinili, Ilocos Norte. Siya po yung naghahabi ng inabel, no, made of cotton naman. Ito naman si Ambalang Ausolin, also a textile weaver, no, from Yakan, Basilan. And Malungon Sarangani naman si Bantilan Estelita, mat weaver naman siya. Yung aking backdraft dito is her work, no, mat weaver po. And then Yabing Masalundulo, ikat weaver, Blaan siya, Pulumolok, South Cotabato. Pumanaw po siya noong I think January of this year. Next please. Ito po yung gumawa, manlilika ng bayan na gumawa ng aking mga kasuotan. I'm so proud to wear itong mga creations nila. Next please. And of course, these are Cordillera weaves, no? Mukhang merong problema din dahil may mga pumapasok na counterfeit weaves, no, galing abroad, no? Gusto lang namin na sabihin na just source, get your from the weavers themselves or the community para alam natin na authentic na weaves ang makukuha nyo. This galing ito ng Ibaloy community ng Benguet, mga Gatdang, meron tayong Kalinga, yan, and Ifugao also, of course. Next please. And these are traditional wear of the indigenous peoples groups, no? Sa unang nasa taas ay Ifugao, ang sumunod naman yung Tingyan. And of course, itong green na top is from the Isnag o Papayao. And sa baba naman are the Ibaloy, no? Itong pang babae. And of course, pang lalaki yung bahag, no? Itong bahag sumusunod. G-string. Next, please. Of course, another way to preserve, no, ang ating indigenous culture heritage is through our School of Living Tradition. Actually, binibigay din, no, na grant ito ng ating binibigyan ng grant ng ating NCCA para ma-sustain. And these are community managed centers of learning where cultural masters and specialists transmit their knowledge and skills on a particular art, craft, and tradition. Yeah, usually meron tayong mga young learners na kasama dyan. Sila yung nag-aaral dyan kasi we have to invest on our kids, no? Yung people natin. Sila yung magpatuloy. Kasi pag elders na, syempre, sila medyo mahirap na, no? Kaya kailangan ipasa nila sa mga young generations. Next, please. Okay, ito yung some of the samples, no, ng ating training, no, sa Schools of Living Tradition. Then sa Balot Island ito, yung Blaan community, they teach the dances. Inform ito, no, so they can hold it, no, sa kanilang barangay hall, tribal hall, or any other areas. And that was the before. Pero ngayon meron ng assign na site, no, meron ng structure. Kasi para ma-sustain siya, meron structure na babalik-balikan ng mga learners natin. Okay, and Subanon naman tong nasa baba. Okay, next please. These are naman Ilocano group, no? Yung nag-participate sila. They are part of the School of Living Tradition, so they learn the drum, no, and pito, or tambor and pito. So naimbitahan sila sa aming isang gathering sa Manila, Indigenous Peoples Festival. Okay, next please. Kaya maganda rin na mag-develop din, no, ng isang art form, no, sa community, no. Mag-create ng isang grupo para sila yung maging performer at ma-invite sa ibang mga events outside of the community. Next, yes, Dayo Indigenous Peoples Festival was celebrating it this year, this month, I should say. This is annual gathering of Indigenous peoples, no, to showcase their intangible cultural heritage, no. And of course, aside from showcasing, they teach, no, they teach us kung ano yung mga meron sila. And because of the pandemic, we held it online, no. Okay, you can catch the shows or the program online through the NCCA Facebook page. Thank you. Next, please. And we have also Dayo TV program, no, where we promote our intangible cultural heritage with our Indigenous peoples on ANC, hosted by Congresswoman Lauren Legarda. Next. Gusto ko lang ipakilala din, no? This is a volunteer group, no? It's my group, no? Katutubong Exchange Philippines. Nabuo ko rin to, no? Kasi as part of a cultural exchange program called SHIP for Southeast Asia and Japanese Youth Program. Nabibigyan yung mga kabataan ng chance na mag-travel and ipakita ang kanilang mga kultura at tradisyon. And na-inspire ako doon, no? Kaya I came up with this program. Kaya ang ini-invite ko yung mga kabataan natin from the different communities. Next slide, please. Ito yung logo namin tsaka slogan, Bridging Cultures, Building Future. Next, please. Gusto ko lang i-share kasi it's part of our advocacy also to promote Indigenous people's culture. And we have this exchange program, siyempre yung annual culture exchange program namin, Katutubong Exchange, tapos may outreach programs kami, at may mga SLT din kami tsaka folk school. Next, please. Mga webinars din. Okay. This is what we did last 2019. We had the 6 months training on Surat Mangyan kasi they already forgotten how to write their ancient script. Kaya natutuwa ang community because we implemented this. At pati yung it's a combination of children and teens at tapos yung mga elders kasama dito, no? So nagtuturuan sila, and of course enjoy sila, no, nung nag-aaral sila. And of course they write their scripts sa bamboo, no? They call it luka. Okay, and nakapag-graduate naman sila, yung mga ating mga naka-comply ng requirements, yung siyempre nasundan nila yung curriculum natin for that. Thank you. Next, please. And we did also na School of Living Tradition ang Surat Tagbanwa sa Palawan. Pero because of pandemic hindi na kumpleto, hindi natuloy, no. So we siguro first part pa lang ito. And they have also the writing system, kaya napaka-interesante na tumulong sa kanila kasi nawala na kasi wala nang may alam. Pero from our end, meron tayong mga alumni members na familiar and nagsusulat pa rin ng kanilang script, kaya sila po yung tinap natin. Next, please. And of course, we held folk school online, no, on baybayin, no. Okay, katapos nung August po ito, ng buwan ng wika, kaya maraming nag-register din, no, nag-attend ng program natin. This is a free online program, no? Okay. By the way, you have also your baybayin, no, Bicolano, you call it basahan, or I don't know kung tama ba yung pronunciation of basahan or basahan. Okay, next please. This is Tagalog baybayin. Of course, we also advocate yung traditional weaving, no. Nagpapatulong kami kasama ang ating national living treasure na si Magdalena Gamayo. Mga teachers and students and even homemakers, they experience yung harvesting of cotton from the farm and all the process of the weaving kasama doon. Next please. Yeah, you hope you can join kasi merong taga-Visayas din na nag-join din sa program na yan. And of course, we also advocate in the use of mga katutubong kulay or natural dyes. Next, please. And we also participate in some of mga big activities as like International Dance Day with Lisa Makuha, kasama natin ang ating mga members, no, ang mga kabataan natin, no, kaya natutuwa sila dahil they were being watched and of course they were able to interact with the other dance companies. Next, please. Okay, we have also a residency program na nag-invite din tayo ng mga katutubo to stay in region 1 or dito sa area ng katutubo exchange, at umiikot kami sa different communities para makapag-sharing siya tapos maturuan din siya. Next, please. And of course, nagtuturo siya ng dances, and of course, ito, ginagawa rin namin yung baybayin script writing din. Next. During summer program, international outreach program din, open to mga communities, and of course, mga indigenous communities abroad. No? Next. And we're having also some programs din online, international, kasi mayroong mga IPs din na in-invite kami for the program. And ito, si outreach na dadala din natin yung mga alumni natin, natutuwa yung Tiboli na youth members natin, saka yung SNAG, no? Kasama rin natin. Saka Ibaloy. Next, please. So mga embassies po yan, no? sa indigenous communities abroad. And of course, we've been promoting also our indigenous culture through TV shows and programs. Yan. Next, please. This was the first batch of our group, no, Katutubo Exchange sa Manila. Then next, followed by Manila rin. Okay, sige. Performances, sige, pindot lang po. And those are performances in different institutions, sa school, and of course, mga offices sa Manila. Next, please. Okay. Okay, may visit pa tayo sa mga embassies, saka may homestay din sila. Next. This is one way to share, no? Promote also their culture as well as learn from other people. No? And the second batch was in Manila. Next, please. Yan. As young as 8, 9, 10 years old, kasama na. Yeah. Guided by their adult leader. And we also had the chance to visit Malacanang, of course, in Indonesian Embassy. And of course, Japan Embassy nung una. Next, please. And ito, mga young members natin at kasama sila sa mga different activities. Nagpe-perform sila. Yeah. Yes, please. Next. Yeah, Mamanwa at Ifugao. Next. Yeah. Sige, performances. Sige, continue na lang. Pressing. And of course, yan. Sa different sites naman na pag-visit namin sa Resort Park, or Luneta. Next. Yeah. They've been meeting also some personalities. No? Next, please. Yes, next. We've been featured also in some dailies. Next. And third batch, 2015. Okay. Yeah. Sige lang. Pakipindot lang yung Okay, continue. Yan. Hindi na ako natutuwa pag mga bata, no? Involved sila na yun ang way of promoting their culture then. And of course, experience, no, that we provide them opportunities to learn. Next, Mansakan Panebukin, Tingyan of Abra, tapos Blaan Sarangani. Minsan, no, first time nila nahiya sila, no, pero second day maingay na. Bali workshop pa, and baybayin writing workshop din sa National Museum. No, next. Yeah, may culinary training pa sila, pag-ride sa MRT sa Manila. Those are the first time experiences of the indigenous groups. Next, please. Okay. Visit to the DFA and of course meeting some senators. Next, please. We moved to Sarangani in 2016. Next, please. Okay, Sarangani. Yes. Next. Okay. Those are some pictures. No? Continue and pressing na lang. Okay. May mga community outreach kami. Tapos sa environment, sa sanctuary ng Pawikan. Okay, go. Okay, yung mga homestay namin. IP conferences din with the elders ng community. Kasama rin namin. Festival, may parading kami sa community. Next. Okay, and this is the next yung Iloilo leg namin sa 2017. Okay, next please. Okay, visiting the heritage sites, World Heritage Sites, small shows, kasama yung mga bata and of course mga elders, and of course courtesy calls sa mga governors and public officials. Next please. And of course, meeting the Federico Caballero, our malilikanang bayan, na-meet din ng ating mga kabataan, and we had some performances with him and chanting. Next please. And of course, they were able to visit the heritage site, yung Faye Church, sa Ilocos naman in 2017. 2018, I think, yeah. 2018 to. Next please. Okay, next. And yeah, they were able to ride on Kalesa, first time nilang sumakay daw ng Kalesa. We provided each community ng isang ride, roaming around the city. Okay, next please. And performances to the different institutions, sa mga schools, Okay, next. Sa Gayan ng Maguindanao, tapos iyakan naman yan. Tapos meeting the National Living Treasure din, nag-hobby din sila dito, nag-weaving because of Magdalena Gamayo, in Ilocos Norte. And of course, these young kids also teach their counterparts, yung other indigenous peoples group dito sa Ilocos Norte, na-meet nila. And of course, yung 8 years old na yan, siya nagtuturo na. Next please. And of course, they have attire swapping then. They exchanges attires or dresses. And of course, this is in Bigan, the heritage city of Bigan. Okay, nagprograma din kami dyan sa National Museum in Bigan. And of course, 2019, sa Maguindanao. Next. And I think sinasabi nila na yung mga Moro youth natin doon sa schools especially, sabi nila first time namin nakita in person itong ating mga kapatid na katutubo, kasi sila yung nakabahag. Nakikita lang namin sila sa picture and of course sa libro. But this time, sabi nila, nakita namin in person at nakipag-interact. And of course, they exchanges ka, they teach each other yung kanilang mga songs and dances. Next please. And of course, ito virtual kasi wala talagang in-person gathering, kaya ginawa namin online. And of course, we're still holding the online this month, and we will be having the program on October 30 for our last episode. Next, please. You can join us in that our page, Katutubo Exchange Philippines page. And of course, some of our indigenous games na nawawala o wala na, hindi na natin nalalaro. Ang arnis, ito yung ating martial arts ng Philippines, this can be found in different indigenous communities or different cultural communities, employing the two sticks. Actually, nilalaro ng mga ibang lahi yan eh. Actually, may nagtatanong pa sa akin kung ano na ang status ng arnis dito sa atin. Mukhang Mobile Legends na atang nilalaro natin, mga guys. Next, please. Okay, these are some of the indigenous games then. Aita, they call it bugayong. Ito yung trompo, or top, or yeah. And wala siyang pako, it's talagang purong wood lang siya. Next please. Archery, napakagaling ng mga kapatid na mga Aita, yung bata, just imagine at that age na marunong sharpshooter siya. And of course, itong elder natin na nakapunta rin ng yung Olympics for the indigenous, they call it World's Indigenous Games. Sa Brazil at saka sa Canada, meron ng dalawang na-hold na parang Olympics for the indigenous sports. Next, please. Spear throwing, ito part pa rin ng yan, yung kanilang Olympic sport, indigenous games. Next, kasama ang Ifugao yan, spear throwing, at saka Aita. And of course, takyaran, nakikita natin to, nilalaro. And of course, napakahaba nito, na still 3 feet high. They had it in a competition ng pabilisan. And of course, pag umuwi siya kasi crossing the rivers, ginamit niya. So, pwede sigurong gamitin rin ito pag mga flooded tayo, pwede natin gamitin. Next, please. Okay, Mali game of Akta Dumagat. No? Parang may kinakat silang object. Next, please. And of course, ito yung favorite ko na hinukting, no? We've been sharing this to other communities, no? If ifugaw ito, parang you have to bump each other kung sino yung mahulog, no? You have to flex your leg, one leg, stand on one leg, tapos yan, banggaan kayo, tapos matbat, talo. Of course, arm wrestling, very popular among our kids din, no? Or mga elders din. Next. Punok is a traditional tagging game, no, of Ifugao, but it was already declared in the UNESCO heritage list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Nakalista po ito. Aside from the hudhud, yung epic chant, saka yung darangin, naka-include dito, pati yung buklogan. It's parang 4 na intangible cultural heritage inscribed in the UNESCO. Next, please. PTO, no? Panay bukid ng Indigenous game. Hinihila tapos paunahan. Next, please. Oh, okay. Bontok Indigenous games, no? Parang pabilisan, yes, kakargahin mo yung isang tao. Tapos mayroong pinapalo din, no? Yan. Some of the things that I witnessed during our activities sa NCCA. Next, please. We have some Adilaot Indigenous games din. Parang same concept ng bontok kanina. Next, please. Games of mamanwan, matingsal, no? Mga rubber band, saka may mga sticks na Next. Ibatan Indigenous games, kakaiba din dahil it's derived from the waves of the sea, no? Tataya is waves, para magkaakap kayong ganyan, tapos nag-wave kayong ganyan habang ma-reach nyo yung isang tao, tapos to-turn kayo. Relay din yun eh. Kayo. And of course, yung status relay is coconut crab na babaliktad ka, no, para makipag-unahan. Tapos ikot ka doon sa isang tao. Next, please. And of course, popular among Filipinos, no, itong Carabao Race and Palo Sebo. No? Next, please. Itong susunod na game, hindi na natin nalalaro. Ito yung nilalaro ko nung bata ako, yung spider fight. No? You have to catch mga spiders during the dusk ba? Pag takip silim na, no? Marami kang makikita. Tapos you form a matchbox. Tapos may partition. Tapos tatulugin mo. Tapos gisingin mo na lang, pitikin mo pag merong ay pag-fight. And of course, itong tirador lang, no? Ito yung ginagamit din. Kung may sanga ka ng bayabas, yan, pwede mong gawin. May rubber band ka, yan, may tirador. Next, please. Okay, let's learn naman some of the languages and words coming from the indigenous communities or other cultural communities. You can follow after me siguro. Yeah, let's read this, no? From Ilonggot, Bugkalot of Aurora, Nueva Vizcaya, they say katakitan taka. Alam niyo pa ibig sabihin niyan? It's a I love you, no? I love you or mahal kita in different languages. Okay, pakitandaan niyo po 'yan, ha. Katakitan taka. Okay, next. Ilonggot yan, Ilonggot. And for Isnag naman ng Epayaw, sabi nila piyaan taa. Piyaan taa. Okay, pwede niyo ako sundan, no? Next, please. Pag sa Pangasinan naman, they say inaro taka. Inaro taka. Next, please. Gadang naman, Mountain Province, aanggan taka. Aanggan taka. Okay. I was able to collect these words from our members, no? Next, please. Okay, Kakanain naman sa Benguet or Mountain Province, they say lalay deksik a. Lalay deksik a from Kakanay. Ibang klase na yung tunog din. Lalay deksik a. Okay, kaluguranda ka naman pag sa Pampanga. Kaluguranda ka. Okay, next please. Okay, sa Kalinga, narinig niyo na ba sila magsalita? They say pipioxika. Pipioxika. Okay? Pag mahal kita, pipioxika. Parang pumipiyok-piyok na. Penpenhuddaa naman pag Ifugao. Or isang tribe naman nila, sinasabi nila penpenhuddaa. Tsaa. Ito, penpenhuddaa. Okay, next please. Okay, sa mga Hiligaynon naman ng Iloilo, palangga, tagid ka. Palangga, tagid ka. Sa Tiboli naman, South Cotabato, specifically sa Lake Cebu, ang sambit nila sa sa I love you is bung nawahukon. Bung nawahukon. Okay. Yan. Pwede niyo kopyahin at pwede niyo i-share sa mga loved ones ninyo. Next please. Sa mga crush niyo pwede rin. Next please. Okay, kalasahan takaw no sa tausog naman of Sulu. Kalasahan takaw. Ito medyo sounding strange kasi sa Tidore of Maguindanao sabi nila may oyot to bem. May oyot to bem. Ayan. Ayan, some of the sample words from different communities. Next. Can I have ano ba sa Bicolano ang I love you? Can you please chat naman sa box or can you please padangat taka? Yeah, I heard na merong Bicol Central, padaba, oo, may padaba. Yung namumuotan taka, payaba, padangat taka, padaba. Padangat taka, Central, padangat. Wala po bang rekonado? Namumutan taka, yeah, it's another, yun, Bicolano din, pero anong part? Namumutan taka. Marami din. Pero rekonada, okay, payabako ka. Very interesting, no? Parang ang sarap aralin, no? Yun nga wala tayong time to explore and discover these words. Central Bay, Central Bay pala. Central Bay merong minumuot taka po. Payabat nabubutan taka. Merong ganun rinconada. Okay. Wow, I learned from you, no? And of course, I was able to share siguro some of the words then. No? Very interesting, no? Actually, yun sana ang ating i-develop din yung interest for our indigenous cultural elements kasi andito tayo no. Saka na lang muna, wala namang mali no pag mga other foreign culture pwede naman na ating aralin pero bigyan din nating atensyon ang ating padangat. Tama ba? Padangat Partido Bicol. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much no for your sharing no. Natuto ako no for payabako ika Albay Bicol. Wow. Okay, let's go naman no kasi meron tayong aside from the verbal language no, meron tayong non-verbal language. We have the writing system na inalis sa atin pinakalimot sa atin no because of the pananakop nga no. Ginamit din ito yung nung una dahil pagtuturo ng Kristiyana doktrina no. Ginamit nila yung baybayin para maintindihan natin yung tinuturo nila no ng mga Espanyol. Pero after na matuto tayong magbasa ng Roman alphabet, Roman letters, ayun, yun yung ginamit natin. Nakalimutan na natin yung baybayin. This is an ancient Philippine script first recorded in the 16th century. Just imagine ganun katagal. It's before the Spanish came, no? And baybay literally means to syllabicate according to syllables po no. And ito yung hindi yung by spelling by letters no pero kung ano yung bigkas no yun by syllables yun ang susulatin mo. Other variants are badlit in Visayan, kuritan in Ilocano, kulitan in Kapampangan, basahan ba o basahan in Bicolano. Tama po ba? Okay. So sino pong may knowledgeable on basahan in Bicolano? Meron po ba from our group? Actually, sino po? Yan.
Familiar po ako. Halos similar po siya sa
baybayin din. Yeah, may mga strokes lang no na nagkakaiba no. So, meron din tayo from Bicol, meron din tayo sa Sambali at saka Pangasinan no, Pangasinense people. Meron din silang sariling strokes ng baybayin. Meron tayong surat din sa baybayin sa indigenous communities ng Buhid, Anono, at saka Tagbanwas, Palawan tribe. Okay, mali po yung tinuro sa atin noon na this is called alibata. Mali po. Ang correct term po is baybayin. And the earliest known documents and artifacts can be found in Laguna copper plate inscription, Butuan ivory seal, then Kalatagan Pat of Batangas. Mayroon tayong baybayin documents na nandyan sa UST archives no pwede nang bisitahin dahil marami sila pong collection and it's declared as national cultural treasures no first document to be declared as national cultural treasures kung yung Metropolitan Theater is also declared National Cultural Treasure, no? Ito, document siya eh. Hindi siya built structure, pero yan, pwede natin makita yan. Next slide, please. And these are the pictures of the artifacts na nabanggit ko. Next, please. Actually, nakakainggit yung ibang mga lahi. Meron silang sariling panulat sa atin ng nawala. And of course, no, ulitin ko, hindi totoo ang tawag na alibata. Please, let's correct ourselves, no? And next, please. Yan, si Ginoo Bilog po ang malilikha ng bayan na nagsusulat, no, sa surat Mangyan, tapos merong ambahan poetry. Diretso yung poetry nila, no? Diretso kung ano yung naisip na diretso sa bamboo. Next, please. Of course, siguro hindi nyo napapansin yung mga kapatid natin dyan dito sa Zoom room na hindi natin napapansin yung pera natin. Merong nakasulat na baybayin. Aside from sa books, sa internet, nakikita natin lagi ito pag meron tayong pera. Of course, lagi naman may pera ang tao, di ba? O walang, tama ba? May tao ang pera, pero ang tao walang pera. Actually, nakasulat dyan, no? A half ng script na sa first part, sa frontal page or part, no? Yung sa likod naman, yung other half, yan, nakaturo from. Yeah. And of course, ang nakasulat dyan, mamaya basahin nyo kung mababasa nyo. Itong nasa passport naman, no? Meron tayong passport. Actually, pati mga nasa DFA, hindi nila kabisadong basahin kung ano yung nakasulat sa passport. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. I'll be doing a demonstration. Quick lang po ito, no? Actually, para sa mga hindi pa nakakaalam ng baybayin, I'll just demonstrate through my screen. Anong tawag dito? Ito, whiteboard. Okay, sa baybayin, no, susundan pa rin yung abakada, no? So ang theory na kasi ang galing sa alon ng dagat yung waves or yung stroke ng baybayin. And parang sa theory din sa giant clams, no, yung corrugated yung kanyang bunganga or yung shell, kaya doon na nakuha yung shape na ito. So susundan pa rin yung traditional na alpabeto natin na abakada. So susulatin ko yung susundan niyo lang. Isang wave na pag ganyan, tapos pataas. Yan, tapos may guhit dito na dalawa para sa A. Tapos ang ba naman parang inverted heart siya. Hindi maganda yung sulat dito kasi pero at least masundan niyo lang na konti. Ito yung ba. Inverted heart siya, no? Ang ka naman isang wave sa taas, isang wave sa baba, tapos pagdugtungin sa gitna, ito ang ka. And ang da naman isang wave sa taas, dito sa lower convex, no, idagdag mo isang another wave, ito ang da. Malinaw ba? Okay, da, kada, ang susunod is E. Ang E isang wave sa taas, isang wave sa baba. Ripple lang, no? Parang ripple. Ito ang E. Ito ang I o tang I. Kasi ang bigkas parehas, kaya parehas din ang sulat. According sa bigkas po ang pagsulat, no? Ang I, da, I, ga. Ang ga is number 3, tapos wave another arc dito sa gilid. Ito ang ga. Ang susunod is ha. Tama ba? Ga, da, I, ga, ha. Ang ha is isang wave na ganyan. Ga, ha, I. O yan, bumalik tayo. I, tapos la. Ang la is isang wave sa taas, number 3 sa pababa. Ito ang la. And then ma is isang wave na ganyan, tapos pataas, tapos across mo dito is ma. Okay, ma. Anong susunod? La, ma, na. Ang na is ganito, isang wave or isang arc, tapos number 3 sa gitna pababa. Ito ang na. Ma-na. Then nga is parang nakanganga. Parang bibig, tapos may buntot. Ito ang nga. Sorry. Nga. And then O is number 3. Okay, O. O at saka U. Parehas. Okay, O. Okay, ang susunod O pa. Isang wave sa taas, tapos may guhit dito or kudlit dito. Pa. Pag nagpunta kayo ng National Museum, ito yung logo nila. Ito yung inadapt nila na character kasi dahil sa word na pamana. No? Pa. And O pa, Ra. Ang Ra is parehas sa Da. Parehas sa Da. Pero mayroong innovation and introduce, kopyahin mo yung Da, tapos lagyan mo ng guhit dito or kudlit dito para maging Ra. Innovation po ito. Ito yung nasa original na ano. Ra, then upa, Ra, Sa. Isang wave, tapos number 3 dun sa pinakadulo. Then Ta. Ta is isang wave. Ta. Then U, di ba? Ta is parang fishbone, no? Yung tail or yung, di ba? Ta, U. Parehas yung U, no? Then Wa is isang semicircle na ganyan, Wa. And then Ya. Yan. Isang wave pataas. Ayan, tapos na yung ating alpabeto na baybayin. And paano naman pag nag-iba yung vowel niya, yung vowel sound, kasi lahat ito A, no? Lahat is may A. Ba, ka, da. No? Paano pag be, ke, de? No? Let's take for example yung ba. No? Ang ba is isang inverted heart. Ang basa nito is ba. Ang susunod naman be. 'Di ba? Mahilig kayo magtawagan ng baby ko, 'di ba? Okay, be or B. Lalagyan mo ng tuldok sa taas. Yung sa ba is lagyan mo ng tuldok para ang basa mo is be. Basta tuldok, be or B. O tuldok o kudlit, no? Tuldok, pwede mong tuldok or kudlit, no? And pag bu naman is siyempre bu. Nahulog yung ano, yung brain niya siguro kaya nandito. Kaya bu. Basta baba is bu or bu. Ganun din, no? Ka, ki, koko. Susundan nyo ito. And then, paano pag mga salita na merong ending with single letter lang siya, no? Parang loob, taob, mga ganun. No? So, ang gagawin mo, kopyahin mo yung ba, at lalagyan mo siya ng cross or plus sign. Okay, ito ang B. Or sa lahat ng characters, pwede mo i-apply ito, no? So, ka, ki, koko, ganun din, single letter K, pag lagyan mo ng plus sign. Okay. Nasundan niyo po ba? So, kunwari, yung mga sinulat natin kanina, no? Sige. Bicol na lang, Bicol. Let's take for example B, no? Kopyahin natin yung ba. Paano ang lalagyan natin? Lagyan natin ng kudlit sa taas para B. Ka is naman is kopyahin yung ka para sa ko, no? Bicol. Lagyan mo ng tuldok or kudlit sa baba, Biko. Biko, masarap yun. Pero kulang siya eh. May L, no? Ang L, yung kopyahin mo siya isang wave sa taas, number 3 pababa. Yan. Ang tawag dyan, ang basa mo dyan, Biko, Bicola. No, Bicola. Paano pag Bicol? Lalagyan mo siya ng plus sign or X sign. Ito po ang Bicol. Ito po ang samang sulat. So, ayan po. Just an example of our baybayin. Kaya magandang aralin yan. Sige po. Okay, nakuha nyo? Nakuha natin. Siguro, magbasa naman tayo. Kaya nyo ba? Pakitype na lang yung answer, ha? Basahin nyo ito. According dun sa ano, inalis ko na pala, ano. Nakuha nyo ba? Sino mag-type kayo nan? Alala niyo, sorry, naalis ko na yung share. Sino makaka-guess nito? Yeah, tama. Si Seja Erika Bandor, it's Magayon. Magayon. Yo, no? Yo, pag may tulo. Yun, may plus sign, no? Sumagayon. Thank you very much kay Ruth Ann din. Nakuha niya. Kay Andrea Perez. Seja. Tatlo sila, no? Nakakuha. And of course, another one. Another one. Pakit-type kung nakuha niyo ito. Yung may premyo yung mauna makakuha, no? Bibigay ni si Sir Shani. Oragon. Oragon talaga. Thank you very much, no? At least natuto kayo ng konti about the baybayin. At ayan po. So yeah, tapos na ata ako. Again, let's keep our cultural heritage lively and pass it on. Kayo po ang tanging susi dyan para at least magpatuloy ang ating tradisyon. At iniwan ko po ito. Salamat po, Diyos Mamahes, no? Sa inyo naman, Diyos Mabalos. Tama ba? You can visit our page, no, KX Philippines at saka yung NCCA sa Facebook. Maraming salamat po muli. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yan, thank you very much po for such an interesting and thought-provoking presentation. I really appreciate your lecture po, Doctor. It reminds me of our lessons in Civica at Kultura, Philippine History, and Psikolohiyang Filipino po in our psychology subjects. Actually po, before the pandemic, my group mates in thesis, we planned to have a case study in the Agta community of Kamsur. We were supposed to live with them in a couple of weeks to study the psychology behind their culture. Kaso the pandemic happened and hindi na po kami napayagan na lumabas pa. And ayan po, it's really great po to learn more about the various Philippine tribes, their clothing, instruments, the indigenous games, and our many beautiful languages. Yeah, na-inspire po ako to study more about the rich culture of our country. And isabay po sa aking advocacies ang promotion and preservation of our indigenous people's culture and heritage. Once again po, thank you so much, Dr. Edwin.
Thank you very much.
Okay po, so at this juncture, we'll go on to the open forum po. So everyone is encouraged to send comments and questions to our resource speaker. You can wait for your name to be called by pressing the raise hand button, or you may also ask your questions in the Zoom chat box and I will try to read it all. So while you are constructing your questions or messages, let us welcome our first reactor for this webinar, Mr. Rain Zamudio.
Hello po, good afternoon po. So once again, good afternoon po. First, I would like to thank Sir Edwin for this comprehensive discussion about our indigenous people cultures. So as an online student po these days, I think yung knowledge ko po of our own cultures are very limited. Kasi I am more knowledgeable pa dun sa mga foreign cultures, like what you said a while ago. And I even apply them in my daily activities. Like, for example, like dapat nagsasalita ako ng gamit ang sarili nating wika. Most of the time, I am much comfortable speaking English. But this kind of discussion awakened my interest in exploring or discovering our own cultures. Even though hindi tayo makapunta dun or makapunta personally dun sa mga cultures na sinabi mo po kanina, but you brought us participants to the IP's world. So yun nga po, our cultures indeed shapes our identity as Filipinos, and I think we will be very distinct kung saan man po tayo dalhin because of our rich culture. Kakaiba nga lang po kasi more and more Filipinos nowadays are more interested with foreign cultures. But more foreigners din po are very interested of how diverse or how various our cultures. So as the time passes po kasi diba, the world changes din. But it is crucial to keep our culture heritage, like what you've said, to pass it on to the next generation. Like again, this is a great opportunity for me to remind me that we have our own cultures and we have to support our own. And I really agree from the song presented na we should be proud to be Filipinos. And lastly, I realized if we will not act to preserve our cultures, I think magiging unfair po to the next generation because they will not experience what really means to be a Filipino. That's it po. Thank you po.
And, thank you, Rain. Sir, would you like to respond to his reaction?
Yes, tama si Rain, no? Thank you so much for your reaction. And I think kayo pong mga kabataan lang talagang susi dito. Kayo ang, at this point, no? Parang siguro nagkaroon kayo ng, nadagdagan pa yung interest nyo, no? Para pag-aralan ng mga ito. At sana kayo ang magpatuloy kasi kayo din, no? Of course, si Karla nga sabi niya, gusto nila lang magkaroon ng immersion sa ACTA community. And I think that's a wonderful experience to have in life kasi makikita mo yung mga ways of life nila. And of course, tsaka yung values nila, no? I really admire kasi pag pumunta ka, talaga very hospitable sila. And doon mo lang sa makikita siguro sa kanila, no? Yung ganong mga instances na they accommodate you, parang welcome ka, and they could share anything na gusto mong pag-aralan from them. Yeah. Kaya yan, mabuhay kayo mga kabataan, kayo mga millennial. Kaya tayo ba? Hindi na ako, no?
Sama po kayo, Doctor. Thank you so much po.
Thank you, Rain.
Thank you, Rain. For our second reactor po, we have Miss Jovi Cardiel. Hi, Jovi.
Hello po, good afternoon po. Thank you, first and foremost po pala. Thank you po, Dr. Edwin, for that informative talk. I was very surprised at how different, and so ang dami po palang mga indigenous cultures dito sa Pilipinas. Ang lagi lang kasi natin nakikita sa mga websites, usually yung sa culture ng AGTA or sa mga Ifugao. And madami pala, lalo na sa Mindanao area. And with that po, sir, naalala ko po kasi yung naging lesson po namin sa Rizal last semester, yung reading namin ni Resel Mojares. Kasi in Resel Mojares' essay on Jose Rizal and the invention of national literature, na-mention niya na when Rizal would travel abroad, lagi niya daw naaalala kung paano ma-apply yung mga cultures na natututunan niya dun sa ibang bansa, kung paano niya ma-apply dito sa Pilipinas. And with that po, I'd like to ask, with your international endeavors, yun po bagang mga naging engagement mo sa Goodwill and sa SSEA YT, what do you think is the most notable lesson that you learned from those international endeavors na pwede natin ma-apply dito sa Philippine culture naman sa atin?
Thank you so much, Shara, for your sharing kasi yun nga, si Rizal Mojares is a national artist for literature, no? Actually, kasama si Rizal din na sila yung mga taong nagbigay hustisya, no, na hindi kailanman mangmang ang mga ninuno natin. At syempre hindi sila savages, hindi sila uncultured, hindi sila uncivilized. Actually, meron na silang sariling kultura at syempre napakatalino nila dahil sa mga nabanggit natin na may mga sariling lingwahe, may sariling sulat, no? These are manifestations na we are a civilized or society, and of course sophisticated na, no? Yung mga kasuotan pa lang nila, di ba? May mga adornments, mga gold jewelries pa nga eh. So ayun, itong patunay na sila din na laging sambit ang Pilipinas kung paano nila i-apply yung mga ways of life natin, no? Actually, yun nga, si Juan Luna na nanalo pa nga doon sa Paris, di ba, ng yung mural sa painting. And nakataba ng puso na gano'n ng mga achievements ng mga tao no, nakapagbiyahe na pala, pati si Jose Rizal. So pag nadadako ko sa ibang lugar, no, ibang bansa, lagi kong inuuna ko yung ano bang pwede kong i-share sa mga tao dito sa ibang bansa na galing sa atin. So, syempre, minsan yung ating mga values in life, yun ang unang-una. And of course, let's talk about our yung cultures natin, of course yung mga beautiful sights and scenes natin dito. Importante. Pero ito nga yung nabanggit mo, it's a culture exchange program yung SEAP ng SSEAYP, no? SEAP ang pronunciation nun. Kasama ko si Sir Shani dahil siya rin ay alumnus doon, and we are a part of that. Actually, you can apply on that program, pero medyo natigil lang kasi because of pandemic. You cruise around the waters of Pacific or dito sa Southeast Asia. So, mamimit mo yung different groups of people, and sinishare mo yung yung meron kayo. And yun yung talagang hindi mo malilimutang experience kasi nire-represent mo yung bansa, tapos sinishare mo yung culture. And at the same time, natututo ka from them. So yung naiwi ko siguro yun, nabuo ko rin yung katutubo exchange para ma-extend yung good lesson from that program sa ating mga katutubo. Thank you, Sarah, for your question. Very, very interesting question.
Thank you din po.
Thank you, Jovi, and thank you po, Doctor, for your response. We have Carl Joshua Fria po raising his hands, virtual hands. You may ask your question to Dr. Edwin.
Yes, hello po. So I have a question. As you've mentioned po na language is important in identity and culture sa pag-iisip natin bilang tao at Pilipino. Also, one of the criticisms of the Filipino language, it's impoverished technical and scientific vocabulary. So wala tayong scientific and technical vocabulary for things. Mostly borrowed siya sa English or Spanish even. Do you think this affects or nakaka-apekto po ba ito sa ating literacy in understanding and also sa pagpapayabong dahil nga humihiram lang tayo ng technical terms, hindi napapayabong ang ating technical terms. Does this affect literacy and education sa Filipinos? Parang ganun po. Yung sobrang paghihingi or pagbabaro ng foreign languages.
That's Karl, right? Karl ba?
Yes po.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your question. Yeah, actually, are you referring to the our national language, right? Filipino.
Filipino po, the national.
Yeah, Filipino. Kasi ang Filipino was derived from the Tagalog, no? Tapos from there, nag-evolve kasi siya. So, dynamic naman ang language, diba? Nag-evolve siya. So, from time to time, meron tayo mga nababaro ng mga other words, no? So, even other words from our indigenous languages are taken from there, no? So na-include sa Filipino national language natin. Yeah, actually hindi naman, no? Does it affect our literacy? Actually, meron tayong nagpapasalamat din tayo sa implementation ng mother tongue and MLE, tama ba? Tama ba ang banggit ko sa Oo, yung mother tongue used sa elementary, napaka-importante 'yun, no? Kasi you have to learn first what is your mother tongue para at least kasi mahirap naman yung yung English na alpabeto, no? ABC, tapos what is an A? Apple, di ba? I mean, context, no? Hindi siya para sa atin kasi apple, where can you find apple? So maganda yun, no? Yung contextualization, indigenization ng pagtuturo at pag-adapt ng mother tongue is very important. So yun ang nakikita ko. And of course, panatilin natin buhay lagi kasi minsan nakakalimutan natin dahil sa paggamit ng English at all times. Yeah, actually wala namang masama sa pag-borrow ng mga words kasi evolving ang language. Pero hindi yun nagtataka kung paano sila nakapag-create ng mga languages. Yun ang mga dapat nating pag-aralan din. No? Yeah, thank you very much.
Actually,
Yes, anything, Karl?
May question. So, ito na po yung aking kalawang question.
Yeah.
So, in the future, since yun nga, Philippines or Filipinas ang name ng country natin, which ang implications is very colonial. Or kumbaga, kung iisipin natin in a political correct way, very colonial siya. Or pero negative implication. So do you think there's a place in the future or even now na kung pwede or sa tingin mo ba parang pupunta tayo na papalitan natin ang pangalan ng ating bansa?
Do you mean the letter F?
Not necessarily po the Philippines. But
Kasi there's an argumentation na bakit F ang gagamitin for Pilipinas and of course for Filipino kasi minsan no sa NCCA kasi we made use of the F katutubong Filipino. Ang sabi ng KWF hindi raw pwede 'yon kasi parang minsan from nagbabago sila ng paggamit ng F tsaka P, no? So, ang sinusundan namin F kasi merong legal basis din, no, sa paggamit sa Constitution, nabanggit din ng F. Pero actually wala namang problema. It's other languages, other indigenous languages, meron silang F yung iba. Kaya hindi naman we don't have to think na this is colonial, no? Kasi for the past years, no, yun na rin ang gamit natin. Kaya sarili na rin natin yun, no? Something that we acquire, no, na ginamit natin, that forms part of our heritage. Actually, pati yung barong Tagalog, actually, yung material, it's not ours. Ang pinya, hindi sa atin. It's not indigenous to the Philippines. It came from Latin America, no? Pero nadala dito at ginamit natin para gumawa ng kasuotan. And it's the pinya barong, no? So, ibig sabihin na that is ours. Hindi mo pwedeng i-attribute sa kanila pa rin dahil galing sa kanilang raw material, hindi eh. Kasi yung the way ng paggamit natin, pag-apply, this is Filipino na. So ganun, even yung mga bahay dito sa Bigan, no, city, ang karamihan na nagsasabi na these are Spanish houses. No, it's not Spanish houses. These are Filipino houses. Built kasi yung pattern after the bahay kubo na merong up and down at saka malalaki ang bintana. Pag sa Europe, sa Spain, hindi ka makakita ng ganyang type of architecture or bahay design. So, ayun po. Actually, something that we use for a long time, and of course, that's not the colonial. I mean, it's been part of our heritage na. So, yun lang ang aking masabi. Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you, Carl. Before we proceed po with Miss Maria Isabel, may question po sir here sa sa comment section sa Zoom box, sa Zoom chat box. Ito po sir, are you aware po about the issue between Apo Wang Od and Nas Daily? If so po, what are your opinions or how do you feel about it?
Yes.
From Miss Erica.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. Actually, from our end kasi, we have to protect at all times ang ating indigenous cultural heritage at all times. Hindi dapat in-exploit ng ibang tao. Actually, dapat they have to seek permission first para at least maituro, mai-share ito, no? Kasi these are being owned by the community. It's not just for individual person. Pero sa tingin ko naman, ang situation para hindi naman nagkaintindihan, no, ang dalawang kampo. Meron mga pinapakita na may pagsasign ng contract, something like that. Nag-imbestiga ang NCIP yung sa car, pero ang tinanong lang nila yung camp ni Apo Wang Od, pero hindi nila natanong nasa academy. Pero last Friday, nagkaroon ng amicable settlement or pag-uusap at maayos naman kasi nag-reach out itong Nas Academy. They explain kasi hindi rin narinig yung kanyang side. Kaya okay naman, it went well, no, yung kanilang pag-uusap. So wala nang problema. So mag-uusap sila kung paano yung gagawin nila, no? Kasi null and void daw yung contract before na pinirmahan ni Wang Od. So at all times dapat mag-seek lang tayo ng permission from the community, especially the Council of Elders kung meron tayong ilalabas from them kasi hindi basta-basta kinokopya kasi yun ang problem natin na nakakuha nila yung content tapos wala na bumabalik sa community. Yeah, that's not fair. So yun ang explanation for the issue or the controversy. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you po. Now, you can unmute your microphone, Miss Maria Isabel.
Hello, am I audible po?
Yes po.
Sige, thank you po. Good afternoon po, Dr. Edwin. I'm Maria Isabel Lopez po, a second-year communication student. And recently po, I've read about an article about po sa residents po ng Calawit Island that was forcefully evicted during the Marcos regime because yun pong island was going to be inhabited by animals po. And na-curious lang po ako kung ano po yung naging action ng NCIP or ng previous administration in rehabilitating those indigenous people, specifically po Tagbanwa residents of the...
Oo nga, parang lumabas pa yan sa Kingmaker ba? Hindi ko napanood masyado.
Yes po, sir. Yes po.
Hindi ko natapos kasi. Pero actually, nakakalungkot din na pangyayari yun. Kasi siyempre, we just accommodate some animals from Africa tapos lalagay lang dyan. And of course, mawawala ng ancestral domain ng ating mga Tagbanwa na nakakaawa. I'm not aware kung ano yung naging tugon ng NCIP, no, tungkol sa kanila. Pero ito hindi siya magandang pangyayari kasi siyempre isang community kasi merong corresponding ancestral domain kasi doon yung ginagalaw nila. Part of their heritage kasi ang environment or ang natural heritage nga na nabanggit ko. Hindi makukumpleto kasi yung culture system mo kung wala itong lupa, di ba? Kasi isipin mo na lang kung Filipinos tayo tapos wala tayong lupain, no? Di ba? Kung kunwari nakamkam na ng ibang nasyon ang Pilipinas, matatawag mo pa ba na Pilipinas? Hindi. Tapos madi-displace ka, no? Mapupunta ka ng Japan. Paano mo sabihin na di ba? Pilipino ka na malaya, wala ka namang lupang ninuno. Kaya yun din ang senaryo kung nawalan sila ng paano mo sila tatawagin at paano nila i-express mga culture nila kung wala silang ginagalawang lupa. Ayun, thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yeah, si Maria Isabel Lopez, no? Okay. Very popular in name mo. Thank you very much for your question.
Again, thank you so much, Maria Isabel. For the last two questions po, sir, from the student po. Meron po dito, sir, question about na po siya, sir, sa schools na nagkakandak ng outreach activities sa IP communities. Ito po, sir. Schools conduct outreach activities in IP communities. Denaga, for an instance, has outreach projects in the Agta communities in Camarines Sur. What tips or reminders can you give to the outreach organizers po to ensure that the cultures of the IP are respected?
Yeah. Ayun pa rin na you have to contact first the focal person there in the community para at least mapagpaalam natin ng maaga at saka mahusay, no? Kasi hindi naman tayo basta-basta papasok kasi alam niyo po ba na may mga indigenous communities na they also maintain protocols, no? Yung ginagawa natin ngayon na health protocols, may mga communities na gano'n, they have to isolate you first before going to the community kasi takot din sila ma-inspect ng diseases coming from the lowlands kaya nag-iingat sila. Pero yun ang tradisyon nila, no? Yun na yung napapractice nila even before. Kaya natutuwa kami kasi yun pala, sila na pala yung dating implementer ng health protocol. Kaya yun, you have to know all the do's and don'ts kasi hindi naman basta-basta na pupunta ka lang tapos walang Importante, no? It's a form of respect na rin yung magpaalam kung darating kayo para at least pero basically lahat sila very accommodating, very hospitable naman sila. Ayun. Basta namimiss ko ngayon, hindi ko sila makita dahil lagi ako sa mga communities nila Masarap. I think very kasi may partnership naman. I'm sure na may partnership ang schools sa mga communities. So may ina-adapt kayo ng mga school mga communities kaya I'm sure welcome na welcome kayo. Wala namang problema pag regular naman kayo na nag-reach out or outreach doon.
Yeah, thank you po. So, for the last question po, we have what is the best ways we can educate and inform our fellow Filipinos about the culture of our indigenous people in this modern era?
Yeah. actually you can use now social media in promoting kasi yun lang yung yun lang yung pwedeng gawin natin, no? Pero we also publish what is the original facts. I mean, not a fake fact. Meron ba fake? Sorry, pero meron fake news, no? I mean, fake items na pinapublish. So dapat suriin din natin kung ano yung sinishare natin, no? If we read something, wag naman yung laging share ng share, pero we have to cross check kung tama ba yung sinasabi about indigenous people kasi may mga maling info or entries doon sa social media. And of course, you can just follow our page, no, yung NCCA. You can watch our Dayaw Indigenous Peoples show or program on air or sa social media. And of course, yung sa Katutub Exchange, no, we're doing the programs online, talk show lang, and of course, pakikipagpanayam sa mga indigenous youth na katulad ninyo na pwedeng magbahagi. You can ask your questions live, no, sa live stream namin. Sa October 30 po yung last episode namin. And that's from there, no, you can siguro, you get to know other IP groups. Yan, salamat.
Ayan po. Maraming salamat po again, Dr. Edwin. And everybody po, thank you sa inyong lahat who participated in the open forum. So I'd also want to convey my really heartfelt thanks to Dr. Antonio for generously sharing his time and expertise with us for this ACP webinar. So everyone who attended this program surely learned something useful that they may apply in their future pursuits. So to show gratitude to our resource speaker and his willingness
Yeah, thank you sa lahat po na nag-attend. And of course, I really enjoyed my session with you. At I hope na maraming salamat kay Sir Sunny for this opportunity. I'm really honored and privileged to share some knowledge to you. Salamat.
Sorry po, Doctor and everyone, I have been disconnected. Let me read
ako
po
na
the
nag-host
certificate. Sorry po.
Okay lang, okay lang.
Part na po siguro talaga ng new normal.
Yeah, you're
mga
right.
technical difficulties. So I'm really sorry. Yan. So
Okay
let
lang.
me read po your certificate, Doctor. So yan. The Office of Student Affairs, Ateneo de Naga University, in cooperation with the Office of Mission and Identity, presents this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Edwin Antonio in his grateful recognition of his expertise and service as resource speaker in the alternative class program, Kalinangan, Preservation and Promotion of Indigenous Peoples' Cultures, held on October 25, 2021. Given this 25th of October 2021 at the Ateneo de Naga University, City of Naga, Philippines. Signed by Mr. Rodolfo S.B. Vertus Jr., Director of Student Affairs, Ms. Janet B. Badong Badilla, Executive Director for Mission and Identity, Dr. Alfredo C. Fabay, Vice President for Higher Education, and Father Roberto Ezequiel N. Rivera of the Society of Jesus University President. Once again, thank you so much po, Dr. Edwin Antonio. Thank you po.
Maraming salamat po sa certificate. Of course, this opportunity talagang a memorable session with you, Ateneans, Ateneo de Naga University. Maraming salamat po muli.
Thank you po. Thank you so much again po to everyone who have been a part of this event, which would not be possible without you. So to the participants of this ACP webinar, please do not forget to fill out the evaluation form to receive your certificate. We will be flashing and forwarding the link in the Zoom chat box, and please make sure that you are writing the correct information. Again, we are grateful for your participation, and we hope to see you in all future ACP webinars or workshops. Once again, I am Karla Faye Abila, and it has been my pleasure to be your host for today. This ends the talk for Kalinangan, Preservation and Promotion of Indigenous Peoples' Cultures. Thank you and goodbye.